Oh! What was that for? You freaking son of a jerk!
Too much?
Not a problem.
Okay.
Today, we are talking about alignment systems. Everybody is familiar, and if you're not familiar, you get to hear about it today. We're talking about the difference between good and evil, lawful and chaotic, and everything in between.
Right. So, and this is something that I actually didn't know a whole lot about, even up until recently. I didn't do a lot of... I honestly haven't played characters by writing down alignment systems. I would just play them how I felt in the moment. That's how I like to play. So this was interesting for me talking to London about this and get ready for this. Is that from my perspective, whenever I imagine evil, I'm very literal with a lot of things. I'm a very literal guy. London's going, yeah, very literal.
Yeah.
I'm a very literal guy. So when I hear good, I'm thinking like people who are like, oh, I'm giving money to the poor, and I go and volunteer at the animal shelter every week, and I'm always building houses and aiding refugees, and then I think evil, and it's like, well, what I just did to London. People who are just going to go punch people in the face, rob people just for the heck of it, stuff like that.
Yeah. Whereas, from my perspective, I break things off of good being more selfless and evil being more selfish. That way you can always have an evil character in your party who's not murdering orphans.
And this can be really, really good for you if this version of it, London's version of it, where good is selfish and evil, or good is selfish.
Good is selfish?
Good is selfish.
Good is selfless.
Good is selfless. London's system is really good if you're running a party with a bunch of different people who want to do different things. For example, if you want to have the tiefling rogue that likes stealing from people and stabbing them in the kidneys as she leaves, the gnome paladin that is always looking for people who need help. Mm-hmm. If you do it this way, if it's run this way, it can work really well, because now you don't have parties of conflicting interest. Now it's just, oh, this person's selfish and I'm selfless. Maybe we butt heads because of that, but it makes it easier because you don't have an evil character who's wanting to rip people to shreds.
Yeah. Working
with a good character, which would just never happen.
I mean, like, Luke Skywalker would never team up with Darth Vader. We're going to go through each of the different alignments. We're going to go just straight across from the top to left, the top left to the top right.
Starting with good, going to evil.
Going to evil. So, how would you define lawful good?
Lawful good in my head, like I said, I'm a very literal person. So lawful good from my imagination is like rigid. I'm following the law. I had a DM when I first started playing describe it as you're going to follow the law even if you don't agree with it. So you're in town and you're like, I want to go and talk to this person, but it's like, oh, they're not visiting it. They're not seeing anybody ever. They're done. From my perspective, from what I was told, it's like, oh, I'm not going to do that then. Which is why I don't play as alignments, because it's stupid.
Right. My perspective of lawful good is somebody who is selfless, willing to help people for the better good, willing to put their wants and desires aside to help other individuals. But on the lawful side, they have a set of guidelines that they follow. And this could be a strong sense of justice. It doesn't even have to necessarily be along the actual laws of the realm. They have a very organized way of thinking about what is allowed and what is good.
Now, lawful doesn't necessarily mean you have to follow the rules. It just means that you follow your own code. So what about the next one down the line?
So let's go ahead and jump straight over to chaotic good, and we could talk about neutral good being in the middle.
Okay, sounds good. From my perspective, chaotic good is when somebody it's the exact opposite of lawful good. It's someone who's like, I'm going to do good, but I'm going to do it by any means necessary.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't care who I screw over to do a good thing. That's how it is from my perspective.
Right. I view it not too far off from that. More of a less organized, more impulsive way of trying to help people. Whereas, like, a lawful good member would be, oh, I only help people through an organized charity. Whereas a chaotic good member would be more likely to seize a guy on the side of the road who's asking for money and is like, oh, I have a few coins in my pocket. That's like a generalization of how I view chaotic good. I feel like most people are on the chaotic good side.
Just like real life?
In real life, nobody really is going through life with a plan, with like very hard set goals. If your character doesn't know what they're doing with their life and they're kind of just winging it, they're definitely more on the chaotic side.
Now about neutral good. What's your perspective on neutral good?
Neutral good is definitely somebody who has a bit of both.
Okay.
What would you view the neutral good as?
So my neutral good, when I think neutral good, because we have lawful, they're so rigid they have to follow the law, and then there's chaotic where it's like I'm gonna do good no matter the consequences. That's how I feel it. So in my head, a neutral character, someone's like I'm gonna do good, and it's really in the middle. It's not somebody who's gonna rigidly follow the law. They're willing to bend some rules, but not so far that they're screwing people over, if that makes sense. So, for example, a lawful good person, if we're using the same analogy of, like, we need to talk to the noble. Lawful, but they're not going to see him. Lawful good's going to say, no. Lawful good is going to say, oh, I guess we can't talk to him. We'll have to figure something else out. A chaotic good is going to kick down the door of the guy's manor, grab him by the shirt cuff, and say, we need to talk to you right now because people are going to die otherwise.
Right.
And then a neutral good is going to be like, well, let's see if we can't talk this through with someone else. Let's see if we can't go above this guy's head. Like, I'm kind of screwing over this guy, but not to the point where I'm a menace to society, where I have guards on me now.
Right.
I don't know if that made sense at all, but
my perspective of neutral good is kind of just a balance between the two. I feel like you could still have a lawful good character who has impulsive behavior on specific topics. So, like, you insult his mother, he hates that, and he'll just go full beast mode on you.
Just gonna kick your trash now.
Yeah.
Like I did to London, just barely.
Yeah.
I heard the awful things he said about my mother before we started.
I did not say anything. But with a neutral good character, you are definitely more in the gray area of some things you're definitely more organized and planning on. Some things you're a little bit more on the chaos side where you are impulsive, trying to figure out what's the best thing, not thinking 5 steps ahead. It was like, how does this help everybody overall? I feel like more people fall within this neutral zone. And everybody's on a spectrum. It's like on some things they're more chaotic, some things they're more lawful. If your average is in the middle, then you're neutral.
Speaking of neutral, true neutral.
True neutral. True neutral falls right in between lawful neutral and chaotic neutral. How would you say true neutral?
So my idea of true neutral, for the longest time, because I didn't like alignments, I never play with an alignment in mind. I just kind of see where the game takes me. First playing and I wanted to do alignments, I always played as true neutral because I felt it gave me a great amount of flexibility. I wasn't held by any laws. I wasn't held by any codes. I wasn't. It was something I saw as something where I could have the character do what I felt like I needed them to do in the moment. Mm-hmm. That's my perspective on true neutral.
Right. If you're unfamiliar with Dungeons and Dragons, a lot of threads might say that parties do not allow any evil characters, and the closest thing you can get to an evil character is having a true neutral character or a chaotic neutral character.
Really? Do tell.
Well, nobody likes the idea of having an evil character that worships Cthulhu and is actively trying to destroy the world. That would definitely offset the party dynamic. And so based off of that, if you wanted to play somebody who, like a warlock, that was actively involved with their patron and was super down with doing all the evil crap, they would technically be chaotic neutral in order to justify that chaotic behavior of walking into a town and just like, oh, an orphanage. Let's set it on fire.
Yeah.
Why not? I'm freeing those orphans of having to be confined in such a small space.
And the burden that their would-be parents have now, they don't have a child. Think of the money they'll save.
They didn't have parents. They were orphans.
Well, like, they got adopted.
Yeah, if they got adopted.
That's what I'm saying.
Either way, they're like, nobody wants to have an orphanage burner in their party.
So, on the other end of the spectrum, lawful neutral.
Mm-hmm.
How does that work?
Lawful neutral. Well, like, my perspective of how neutral works is, like, going between good and evil. You have the good being selfless, evil being selfish, neutral being that gray area of, I'm not the character who is actively trying to buy healing potions for the party, or I'm not the character who is willing to spot people for money in case they're down on it. You're like, okay, I'm willing to take care of myself, but if somebody's like, hey, who wants to chip in for pizza? I mean, it's like, sure, I'll chip in for pizza.
Okay.
I'm pretty good with the flow.
This kind of makes me think of Scanlan a little bit.
Yeah.
Scanlan, your perspective makes me think of Scanlan from The Legend of Vox Machina.
Right. Like Scanlan, he's down to have fun, joke around. I wouldn't put him He might be in the evil category because he's a little selfish. Okay, he's very selfish.
Very selfish.
Willing to indulge in what he wants to enjoy. He's not thinking about the consequences of that it'll have on others. I would say he definitely moves from the evil side to the neutral side as he goes on upon his character progression. And so, talking about lawful neutral, it is somebody who's very organized, has a set of understanding of rules that they want to follow, but doesn't necessarily stick to, I want to take care of myself or I want to take care of others during that grade.
Right. So in my head, a chaotic neutral is somebody that's, because true neutral for me is someone who's willing to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Chaotic neutral to me is someone that's will still do whatever they want, but they err more towards chaos and screwing people over. Whereas lawful is the exact opposite of that. Lawful neutral, they're still willing to do whatever, but they err more towards the side of helping people and doing good in that sense. That's my perspective on it. Yeah, that's my perspective on it, at least.
Yeah, okay. Now let's move on to evil. This is where I view
Sorry, I blacked out there for a second. What happened?
Any Hoosers?
But as far as like working together with good and evil characters, anyway, as long as you guys are having fun, it really doesn't matter. Just a fun. This is just a game after all. It's not world peace or anything. If you guys enjoyed this, please post in the comments how you view the spectrum of the different alignments. What's your opinion of good? What's your opinion of evil? What's your opinion of neutral and chaotic and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And also, post what you think your alignment is in the comments. Because I'm definitely a chaotic good.
Right. Definitely lawful good here. My rules lawyering. Okay, lawful neutral.
Lawful neutral on a bad day.
On a bad day.
Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. This has been Out of Initiative.